You are welcome to this online tutorial. My name is Vincent Chidindu Asogwa from Department of Agricultural Education and Extension, University of Eswatini, the Kingdom of Eswatini. We are going to look at how to manage old and modern plagiarism manually and electronically. This topic or title is what we did last time on our webinar, but I felt that it would be useful if I should record the online tutorial for others to benefit. So feel free to share to others. In our presentation, we are going to look at the concept of plagiarism, forms of plagiarism definitions, types of plagiarism, 5 categorization of plagiarism forms, why does plagiarism matter, consequences of plagiarism, how to detect plagiarism, how plagiarism detectors work, how to manage plagiarism manually and electronically. What is plagiarism? The word plagiarism is derived from the Latin word plagiarus, which means to steal others' work. Plagiarus comes from the Latin word also for kidnapper, and is considered a form of theft, a breach of honesty in the academic community. Yale University 2021. Plagiarism is the act of using someone else's language, words, ideas, or other works like videos, music, images, pictures, maps, without the owner's consent or without clearly citing the source of that information. That is using someone's work without proper acknowledgement. The work includes all published and unpublished material. It includes all published and unpublished materials. That is, whether the material is published or not published, if you use it without proper acknowledgement, it is plagiarism, whether in manuscript, printed, or electronic form. Plagiarism may be intentional, reckless, or unintentional. Any of these is a disciplinary offense. Forms of plagiarism definitions. We have old and modern definitions of plagiarism. In old plagiarism, old definition, it is an act of using someone's language, word, idea, or other works like video, images, pictures, maps, without the owner's consent or clearly acknowledging the source of that information. So if you use anyone's work and clearly acknowledges the source, it is not plagiarism according to the old definition. But modern definition says that plagiarism is the duplication of content that is precisely the same or very similar to the content present on one or more pages of a website. That is to say, even if you properly acknowledge the source of that information, since it is a duplicate of that idea or word or work or video, it is regarded as plagiarism. And plagiarism detectors will highlight it for you and give you the percentage. In many cases, duplicate content equals plagiarized content in modern definition of plagiarism. So copying content from websites without permission is an offense. Types of plagiarism. The first one is global or complete plagiarism. This is copying or stealing an entire text. It includes purchasing an essay or turning in an assignment completed by someone else. Verbatim or direct plagiarism simply means directly copying someone's word without using quotation marks or citing the source. So in that case, you use someone's work without indicating that you are copying verbatim, word for word. Even if you cite that source of that information, it is regarded as plagiarism. So you are expected to use quotation mark to indicate that this is word for word that you are copying from that author. The third one is paraphrasing plagiarism. That's a situation where one rephrases someone else's idea and present them as if they were one's own original thought. You remember paraphrasing, and an example is, take for instance, one can say, for lecturers to be relevant in this 21st century, they need capacity building on interneting. Now you can quickly paraphrase by saying that lecturers need capacity building on interneting for them to remain relevant in this 21st century. You have quickly rephrased someone's idea without citing the person. You rephrase it as if it is your own thinking or your own idea. That is paraphrasing plagiarism. The fourth one is self-plagiarism or duplicating publications, where you recycle previous work that you have already submitted or published somewhere else. The fifth one is patchworking or mosaic plagiarism, copying phrases or passages and ideas from different texts that may or may not be acknowledged and compiling them into a new text. Many people, while writing textbooks, they get different works and compile them as if it were their own. That is mosaic or patchwork plagiarism. We also have the fifth one, accidental plagiarism. This is unintentionally copying or paraphrasing someone's word. Sometimes you may stay at home without even consulting, or stay on your own without consulting any material, and decide to write something using your own words and idea. But when you go online to check it, you discover that those ideas or words had already been used and published by someone in the internet. That is accidental plagiarism. Not just because you did not intentionally copy it, that does not make it not to be a plagiarism. It is. We also have the seventh one, insufficient paraphrasing, meaning you take an author's word and change them slightly without quoting the actual text. So if you fail to quote the actual text, that is insufficient paraphrasing, and it is a form of plagiarism. We also have misquoting, not being able to quote exactly what was said. That is a form of plagiarism, because you acknowledge, even when you cite that person, you acknowledge that that is what the person said, and the person did not say so. So it is a form of plagiarism. Direct quotes are when you use an author's exact words. Indirect quotes are when you report the spoken or written words of an author, but not his or her own exact words. In schools, secondary school, we are taught reporting. So direct quote is different from indirect quote. An indirect quote is a form of reporting. Both of them must be cited or acknowledged. These forms of plagiarism have been categorized. And here we have 5 categorization of plagiarism forms. The first one is characters preserving plagiarism. And an example of it is verbatim copying without proper citation. You copy verbatim, you do not cite properly. The second categorization is syntax preserving plagiarism. In this case, we have an example of synonym substitution. You have a text, you decide to substitute some words with the synonyms. Take, for instance, where you have male, you change it to man. Where you have female, you change it to lady or woman. Climate change, you change to climate variability, or internet, or electronics, you change it to digital. It's a form of plagiarism. Another example there is technical disguise. You technically disguise some words to confuse the computer from dictating that you have copied a work. An example is using alphabets, where you have N in English, and in some other language, you have N dot on top of it. Then in that case, the computer will not recognize it. You have technically disguised those words, and it's a form of plagiarism. The next category is semantics preserving plagiarism. In this case, an example is translation, where you translate someone's word or someone's idea, or even language, or even text or music from one language to the other. You can translate a text from Igbo to English, or from English to Yoruba language, or Hausa language, or Latin, or Siswati, or any other, or Zulu even, or any other language you can think of. Now, that is a form of plagiarism. Another one is paraphrasing. I've given an example of paraphrasing, where you paraphrase someone's work. That does not make it yours. You still need to cite. Where you fail to cite is a semantic preserving plagiarism categorized. Another category there is idea preserving plagiarism. Idea preserving plagiarism. In this case, we have appropriation of ideas or concepts as ideas, as examples. Taking ideas without permission. Maybe you heard me saying something or heard someone quoting, and you decide to use that person's word without actually acknowledging the person as if the idea is yours. It's an idea preserving plagiarism. Or reusing text structure, someone's text structure, or music rhymes, you use it. Is a form of plagiarism. Then the last category there is ghost writing, where some people, where an example is collusion, where students or group of people can secretly agree for them to write, and someone will write it, you claim it is yours. It does not actually portray the intelligence you have, so it's a form of plagiarism. An example there again is contract cheating. Recently, a lot of students or people contract their work to people and come and present it to whoever that is in charge as if it were their own ideas. Like paper writing, like assignments, contracting it is a form of plagiarism because it's an academic dishonesty. It does not portray, it does not show what you actually have. It does not show that you creatively produce that work. So the idea is someone's work and you are impersonating as if it's yours. It's a form of plagiarism. Now, why does plagiarism matter? Why does it actually matter in the field of academics or in the field of law? It is unethical and steals credit from the original creator and discourages creativity and hard working. Plagiarism is fraudulent and is a form of academic dishonesty. It does not actually represent you. So it doesn't tell people who you are. It doesn't show what you have learned and what you have not learned. It is destructive and makes it impossible to clearly distinguish your own words, ideas, or work from others. Sometimes you misconfuse yourself. You feel what you are not. You think you have those ideas, but you don't have them. So you even confuse yourself. It blocks the readers from tracking where your ideas came from and verifying the evidence for themselves. So you don't want people to actually verify, even when you are misquoting. You don't want people to actually verify what you are saying for authenticity. It costs one's reputation and leads to failure of courses, academic probation, demotion or expulsion to both student, faculty, and staff members. Now, what are the consequences of plagiarism? The consequences are in form of sanctions, and they include penalty like demotion. I've seen where a professor was demoted to lecturer 1 for academic theft or plagiarism. Lecturers may lecturer 1 held for 10 years without promotion for just for the sake of plagiarism. It could also lead to suspension or rustication, expulsion from schools or work. Some have been expelled. Then you may be substantially fined for plagiarism. Sometimes it may lead to imprisonment. So these are the consequences of plagiarism. How then can one detect plagiarism? Plagiarism can be detected manually or electronically via software. Before, people detect plagiarism by placing two different texts and trying to cross-check, but very, very laborious, very, very tedious. That is why before the advent of technology, people were not being caught for plagiarism because it's very difficult for people to know, especially when it is translated, especially when it is used in different locations. But these days, because we're in a global world, it can easily be detected. So some of the plagiarism checkers that can detect plagiarism are Scribe, otherwise known as Turnitin. This is the best plagiarism checker, but paid for. This is the best, but paid for. Then followed by Quitext, Grammarly, Unicheck, Plagiarism Detector, Viper, Dupli Checker. This Dupli Checker is one of the most effective free plagiarism detection tool on the internet currently. Continuing, Authenticate, CopyLeaks, Paper Rata, Plagiarism, Plagiarism Checker X, Plagium, PlayScan, Play Tracker. This is according to the rating of Scribe 2022. How do plagiarism detectors work? How do they work? If you don't know how they work, it becomes difficult for you to prevent or reduce plagiarism in your work. The basic functionality of all the plagiarism software tools, they have the same functionality. That is, the basic functionality of these softwares are similar. Usually the text to be checked requires copying and pasting on the application window and subsequently pressing the required button. Mostly they use the search engines to identify duplicate content. This is why we told you about the modern and the old definition of plagiarism. In old plagiarism definition, if you copy and cite that person, cite the source, it is no longer plagiarism. But in modern plagiarism, as far as the machine detects duplication of a content, as far as it identifies duplicate content, it will highlight it as plagiarism for you, whether the author is cited or not cited. What do they want you to do? To be original and unique at all the time. That's why we told you there is modern and old. Now, sometimes even when you have the source of the information, the machine, the search engine might identify it as a duplicate, even when you have cited the source. They don't want duplicate, they need originality. Now, how do they do this? The search engines do it by breaking the text which you have copied and pasted into smaller chunks, into smaller units, into smaller chunks of phrases, let's say 2 to 6 words, and search for similar into the search engines. When you copy a sentence and insert it there, the machine breaks it into units and search for duplication of those words, between 2 to 6 words. Now, this is what differentiates different plagiarism checkers. Some, while they were programming, some wanted the machine to start from when there is 6 words. Some brought it down to 2, 3, or 4, or 5. As far as it detects 5 words in that sentence, it should highlight it as a duplicate. But some has it up to 6, that it begins from 6. That's why you may use this plagiarism checker to check the similarity or the uniqueness of a text, and use another one, they give you different plagiarism percentages. This is the source of it. So its effectiveness depends on the reduction, or the smaller the number of words or chunks that the machine can break them. Then, on encountering smaller content, the tools marks the phrase or the words that are plagiarized. It will mark it for you. So what we're saying is that even when a full sentence is marked, you might understand that it is as a result of 6 words in that sentence. If you're able to identify them and break them, disorganize them, then it will not be seen as, or rephrase them, paraphrase them, it will not be seen as plagiarized. Some applications use online directories to check the text further. Now, how to manage plagiarism? In this management, we classify them into 2: prevention and reduction or control. Prevention and reduction or control. Now, we start with the prevention. The manual way of managing plagiarism now. First of all is understanding plagiarism. Every researcher needs to understand first plagiarism and its consequences. If you don't have value for it, you will not be conscious of it. But when you have value and know the implication, you will be conscious of it to avoid it. The next is use your own words. Write or present your ideas using your own words before searching literature to support your work. If you go into literature first, you may be tempted to use someone's work. You may be tempted to see others' idea better than yours. In that case, creativity won't even be in you, and you will use other people's words, which will amount to plagiarism. So it's better you write your own idea the way you want it to be before you go to literature to get others and support yours. Citation. State properly the source from which the idea or information was obtained. Proper acknowledgement. Even though modern plagiarism dictates that, you might have a sentence or paraphrased, but when you put it in the machine, it will detect it for you. Even when you have cited, if it detects it for you when you have cited, you may require to paraphrase, to rephrase that one. Then the next way to prevent it, now, this one is digital. You have to install Grammarly program in your computer. Just go online. It is free of charge. Install Grammarly. Grammarly is a program, and if you install it in your computer, it will automatically be correcting your grammar while you are writing, provided you are online. Even if you are not online, it could also do it. But the advantage is that when you are online, it will check plagiarism for you and correct it, reconstruct or rephrase your word so that it will be unique on the internet. But the disadvantage is that it distorts your mind map and creativity. Sometimes it tries to write ahead of you, thereby confusing you and distorting your thinking flow. So that is the disadvantage. I had it and removed it because it is not advisable for early starters or young writers. It distorts your creativity. It distorts your analytical thinking. It distorts your systematic thinking. So then how to manage plagiarism continues, but in this case it's reduction manually. How you will reduce plagiarism manually. In this case, we have CQPS. CQPS. The C is citation order. State properly the source from which the idea or information was obtained. We have beginning of sentence citation and end of sentence citation. If you started when the plagiarism is checked and it is plagiarized, but the citation is at the beginning, you may take that citation to the end. Change it. If it is at the end, you can paraphrase it and have a beginning of the sentence citation, provided you correct your grammar. Then the Q there is quotation. Where you have paraphrased yet it is seen as plagiarized, you can use quotation mark. Put quotation marks around the information you copied directly from the original source. So in this case, when computer sees quotation marks, it avoids it. It does not see it as plagiarism. So you can use this to reduce plagiarism in your work. But remember that there's a rule. The rule is that when you have 40 words you are copying from an author, you don't need to paraphrase it. If the words you are copying from an author is up to 40, you put quotation marks there. That's the rule, a grammatical rule. So in this case, you have to be sure whether you are paraphrasing or you are quoting. If you are paraphrasing, you can't put quotation mark. Otherwise, that is plagiarism also. It's an offense. So you need to mind that rule. And again, remember that you are not allowed to have more than 3 quotations in a page, not even more than 2. The most you can do for scholarly writing is 1 quotation in a page. 1 quotation. So you don't just be using quotation mark to confuse the computer by putting quotation marks in a page, otherwise it will be rejected. The next one is paraphrasing. I have given you an example of paraphrasing. So use different words to express the idea from the text, making it easier for readers to understand. You can paraphrase your work. That is the P there. Then the last word S is summarizing. This is the best way you can manually reduce plagiarism. State only the main points from the text using your own words without changing the meaning or introducing additional information. Summarize that work using your own idea. That's the best way to reduce plagiarism. So don't forget CQPS as a way of reducing plagiarism manually. How then do you manage plagiarism reduction electronically? The first thing you do is to copy, do what is called document language version translation. When you go to the base of your document, where you have number of words, below below your computer at the left-hand side, you see number of words. After the number of words, you see the type of English there. You click on that, you will see different English version. If I'm talking, for instance, you are using English work document. It will show you South African English, Canada English, American English. If you use South African English to write it, you can change it to America, and that will automatically restructure, rephrase your document. And anytime you send it to computer and check it with plagiarism detectors, it will definitely reduce the plagiarism. But then, if you are not using American English, if you are not using Canada English, it becomes difficult for you, because you cannot be colonized by Britain and you are using American English. Though if you want to use it, the rule of grammar is that you must be consistent in your writing. So you can combine American and British English in the same document. So be consistent in one. Any of them can be accepted by your reviewers. The next one is replacement of words. Now, this is what we call substitution, synonym substitution. When you go to the top right of your document, there is a place you say replace. These ones I'm saying it because many of us are computer literate, so we know what I'm talking. When you go to where you can replace words in the entire document, let's say, for instance, you have man in the entire document. You can click there and replace man with male. If it is female, you can replace it with woman. In that case, it will automatically reduce thus plagiarism. But I will tell you the disadvantage of this is a lazy man's work, because many people have used this method and have an entire document of someone and confused computer this way to publish it. I will tell you the danger. It will damage your creativity and thinking faculty completely. So it's better you avoid it. Not good for any beginner and even for the experienced researchers. Why I'm saying it is because in the field of medicine, in the field of pharmacy, they teach them what you do to have to produce an adulterated drug, so that you do not know. If you choose to produce an adulterated drug, you will not say that you don't have the implication. I'm teaching you now, and I'm telling you the implication. It's just like the medical doctors, they tell them what they do that will cause abortion. But that does not mean that they are encouraging them to be using it. But for them not to claim that they are ignorant of it, for someone may go and learn how to do this and be thinking that he has learned how to outsmart computer. My dear, I want to tell you that you are damaging your creativity and your learning ability forever. You can also change climate change to climate variability, online to digital or electronics. These are what we call replacement of words. I'm just telling you what you can use to reduce it, but know it and know the disadvantage. The other one is Grammarly checker. You can go directly to the online, Google Grammarly, and copy your work there and check it. Otherwise, you can copy it to your email address where you have compose. Place the document as if you want to send email or even in your Facebook, you can put it there and automatically the English, the computer, because the program has inbuilt Grammarly, it will automatically check the grammar for you and highlight errors for you there. If you check, sometimes it rephrase or reconstruct some sentences for you. As you follow it, because it is online, it will automatically reduce plagiarism for you. And this is free of charge. So what you just do is to copy the work, to compose in any of your email, and grammatically edit the work. The next one is paraphrasing tools. You can use paraphrasing tools to reduce plagiarism. What are these tools? What are examples? There are many of them, but I have just both here. We have the Spine Boat, we have the Content Boat AI, we have the Essay Writer IO, we have the Plagiarism Changer, and we have the Grammarly. We also have the Pro Writing Aid. All these paraphrasing, as we say paraphrasing, use the same functionality. What do? They paraphrase your sentences. They go online and try to make sure that they vary what is online with what they have, using different words. But I want to caution you, I want to remind you that what you do is to read before you accept. When you copy your document and paste it in any of them, any of these things, you can just Google Quiboat. It will open a document for you. It will open a page for you where you have upload. If you want to upload, you can, but the disadvantage is that it will reduce the number of words that it can check for free will be small. But if you copy and paste, it will be better for you. It will check higher number of words. Now, Quiboat is paid for. Spine Boat is free of charge. But the disadvantage is that Spine Boat only checks the grammar. In most cases, it does not reconstruct it for you. In most cases, but it does. Now, what is the functionality of these paraphrasing tools? One is grammar checking. They check the grammar. Sometimes our grammar may be wrong and cross-match with others and be seen as plagiarism. So they check the grammar to correct it. Secondly, style of editing. They look at it and edit well. Use of words. They may replace some words with correct or better words. Otherwise, synonym substitution. They do it for you. Then plagiarism checking. They equally check if there's any similarity in what they are giving you with the internet. So if there is any, they change it automatically to make sure that anytime you check it, it won't be existing online. Then we talk of replacing synonyms. I've told you the way to replace synonyms there. They also break down complex sentences. It is advised that in a scholarly writing, better use simple sentences. Let your sentences, one sentence contain one idea. Avoid complex or compound sentences. That is an advice. Then when you have one sentence, you have the citation immediately. In this case, it reduces a lot of plagiarism. So sometimes the paraphrasing tools, what they do for you is to break down those complex sentences and rephrase it so that it will be unique. The next one is some of them look at the formatting file. They reformat it in a way that it will be unique on the internet. In this case, it will be free of plagiarism. But don't forget that there is all the definition of plagiarism. You may use paraphrasing tools to confuse computer without citing someone. That does not mean because the computer is not able to dictate that this idea has been used by someone or belongs to someone other than you who is the writer. That does not mean that it is not plagiarism. That's why we brought out the old and the modern. so that you combine them and be grounded. If you copy someone's work and change it completely without even citing someone's work and paraphrase and rephrase it using any of these paraphrasing tools, it is a plagiarism because the idea has been copied by someone, even though it is not duplicated, because modern plagiarism believes in duplication. It's only when it is duplicated. Even though it is not duplicated, but the idea came from someone else, it is not yours. That is plagiarism if you fail to cite or acknowledge the source of the author properly. I believe you understand what we are saying. So in that case, this is where we are, and these are the references. Thank you for listening, and God bless you. Bye.